Nevermore Academy is open again, but the shadows are longer and the secrets are louder. Wednesday Addams returns to a campus that treats her like a legend and a liability at the very same time. The first 4 episodes of Season 2 set a darker tone, expand the lore around Wednesday's visions, and pull her friends into a larger conspiracy that refuses to stay buried. In this expanded, spoiler-safe recap, we walk episode by episode through the major beats, character turns, and thematic threads without jumping past episode 4 or revealing any late-season twists. Here is the plan. We will cover what happens in episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and episode 4 of season 2 only. We will track Wednesday's investigation, the shifting alliances inside Nevermore Academy, the pressure coming from the town of Jericho, and the way visions complicate every decision. We will stop before any climax or late episode endings that would ruin discoveries. Use the empty time codes to drop in the show's timestamps once you edit your video. The season opens with consequences. Nevermore has stricter rules, new surveillance, and a leadership shuffle that leaves students uneasy. Wednesday returns to find her reputation split down the middle. First years whisper about her the way people whisper about urban legends. Upperclassmen look at her like she is a magnet for trouble. Enid tries to make a fresh start, arranging a room reset, a study schedule, and a promise that this semester will be less life-threatening. Wednesday answers with a single raised eyebrow and a stack of case notes. She is already working a problem. A small incident on campus sets the tone. An apparently harmless demonstration in a classroom goes sideways, revealing that someone has tampered with protective wards. No one is seriously hurt, but the message is clear. Order is fragile. Wednesday's visions spike in intensity afterward. They are not clean flashes. They are overlapping images that refuse to resolve. In one vision, she sees a hand-drawn sigil burned into wood. In another, she hears a bell and the scrape of shoes on stone. She sketches what she can and pins the drawings above her desk like a crime board. Wednesday's relationships reboot under stress. Enid wants boundaries. Bianca wants accountability. Xavier wants clarity about what Wednesday expects from him. The town of Jericho wants distance from Nevermore, even as it profits from the school being open again. Sheriff Galpin's office is colder than ever toward outcasts, and Wednesday notices increased patrols near campus. By the end of the episode, Wednesday has mapped 3 leads: who broke the ward, what the sigil means, and whether the bell she heard belongs to Nevermore or the town. She resolves to follow all 3, even if it means breaking curfew on day 1. Episode 2 widens the scope. A new instructor arrives with a curriculum that digs into obscure outcast history. Their lessons are rigorous and unsettling. Wednesday looks for tells. Is this just a tough teacher or a guide pointing the class toward dangerous knowledge? Meanwhile, administration installs a stricter sign-out system that requires permission for off-campus trips. That does not stop Wednesday. She and Thing find a way into a storage corridor beneath the library that has not been used in years. The air smells like dust and candle wax. The walls are lined with old crates stamped with the raven emblem of the school and a second mark that matches the sigil from Wednesday's vision. Back on the surface, relationships fray. Enid asks Wednesday for one evening with no investigation talk. It lasts 6 minutes before Wednesday notices a pattern in the school bell schedule and leaves mid-conversation to verify it. Bianca is pulled between family obligations and school leadership duties, which makes her both an ally and an obstacle, depending on the hour. Xavier offers to help, but only if Wednesday tells him why she keeps sketching the same symbol. She refuses, not out of malice, but because she wants proof before she speaks. The episode's centerpiece is a night excursion to Jericho. Wednesday times the town's clocktower chime with the bell she heard in her vision and notices a half-beat of difference. The bells are not the same. That points her back to campus. She follows the sound to a neglected stairwell that ends at a bricked-up archway. Someone has sealed it recently. The mortar is clean. Wednesday marks a spot on her map and stashes a crowbar behind a loose stone for later. Emotionally, episode 2 shows how isolation is a choice and a reflex for Wednesday. She pushes people away to keep them safe and to protect her own focus, but doing so costs her information. When Enid finally says that friendship requires actual time, Wednesday pauses long enough to acknowledge it. She does not change overnight, but a door opens. Episode 3 moves from suspicion to pressure. Rumors spread that Wednesday is involved in the rash of ward failures. A small group of students begin to treat her like the problem, not the person tracking the problem. The administration, eager to calm parents, clamps down on night movement and adds new faculty patrols. Wednesday responds the only way she knows how, by working faster. She enlists Enid for a daytime reconnaissance of the sealed archway. They stage it as a legitimate study tour of the old wings, complete with folded brochures and a rehearsed speech about school history. When a patrol turns the corner, Enid throws herself into the role of tour guide, buying Wednesday enough time to photograph runes carved near the arch and to pry a flake of the fresh mortar into a sample bag. The scene works because it highlights their complementary skills. Wednesday handles patterns, Enid handles people. Clues begin to line up. The rune cluster near the arch is not decorative. Wednesday cross-references it with notes from the new instructor's lectures and finds a match to a forgotten protective system that predates Nevermore's current wards. If someone is reactivating or corrupting that older system, it would explain the erratic failures. At the same time, Wednesday's visions shift from single images to short sequences. She sees two people standing beside a table, both wearing gloves, both speaking too softly to make out words. One of them leaves a wax seal with the same sigil she's been drawing. The social temperature rises. Bianca calls a meeting of student leaders to coordinate safety and to stop the rumor spiral. Wednesday attends and, in a rare concession, shares a portion of her findings without naming suspects. That partial transparency earns her a little trust back, especially from students who remember what she accomplished last term. Xavier presses her afterward about why she continues to work alone at night. Wednesday admits that when she is with people, the visions distract her. When she is alone, they become clearer. It is not an apology, but it is a reason. Episode 3 ends with a discovery that reorients the case without breaking spoiler territory. Wednesday and Thing find a hidden latch near the bricked arch. It releases a narrow panel, not a door, revealing airflow on the other side. Someone wanted access without opening the passage wide. That means the culprit is careful, patient, and likely a regular presence on campus. Wednesday adds a new line to the board, inside job. Episode 4 brings tradition to the foreground and pushes Wednesday into public view. A long-dormant school ceremony returns in a revised form, pitched as a way to unify campus and reassure anxious parents. Wednesday is skeptical of institutional theater, but she recognizes a tactical advantage. A crowded, highly scheduled event gives her cover to move around the old halls and test hypotheses without looking suspicious. The ceremony sequence intercuts with investigation beats. While classmates rehearse and administrators smile for donors, Wednesday and Enid trace a route through storage rooms that connect to the sealed corridor. They find an old ledger that lists repairs to the ward network from decades ago. Several entries are blacked out with ink so dense it shines. Wednesday uses lemon and a heating coil to lift enough of the writing to read a surname that appears in town records as well as in Nevermore's archives. The link between campus and Jericho is no longer theoretical. Relationships snap and reset. Enid asks Wednesday to trust her with the full story and not just errands. Wednesday relents and lays out her current map, symbol key, and working theory. The vulnerability pays off. Enid notices that the ledger's dates line up with changes in the bell schedule from years past. The bell was altered during a maintenance window. That is why Wednesday's audio memory did not match the clock tower in Jericho. The bell she heard belongs to a smaller mechanism inside Nevermore used for internal alerts, not the public clock. A face from last season re-enters the narrative in a way that tests Wednesday's judgment. His presence is restrained and complicated rather than sensational. The show uses it to explore whether forgiveness is a feeling, a decision, or neither. Wednesday refuses to let nostalgia or fear dictate her actions. She asks direct questions and watches for the answer behind the answer. The episode builds to a clean stopping point without crossing into climactic territory. During the public portion of the ceremony, the wards flicker, then stabilize. The crowd cheers, none the wiser. Wednesday is not relieved. Flicker means someone tested the system or tripped a limit. After the event, she returns to the hidden panel and finds a set of fresh footprints she did not leave. They are small, precise, and led away toward faculty offices. The investigation has a direction, and Wednesday has enough proof to keep pulling the thread into episode 5. Trust and control are the season's opening arguments. Wednesday fights to control her visions, control her schedule, and control the narrative around her, only to learn that control is often a story people tell themselves to feel safe. The more she tries to operate alone, the more she risks missing what other people see in plain sight. Friendship is not presented as a cure-all. It is a discipline. Enid, Bianca, and Xavier each bring limits and blind spots that the others have to manage with patience. The town of Jericho adds a third force to the dynamic, reminding the audience that institutions protect themselves first and students second. Legacy is the other major thread. Wednesday cannot escape the long shadow of her family name. She does not want to escape it entirely either. Season 2 treats legacy as a systems problem. Who wrote the rules, who maintains them, and who benefits when they are enforced unevenly? Each clue Wednesday uncovers points to choices adults made long before the current students arrived. Those choices now land on teenagers who did not consent to carry them. Finally, the visions. Season 2 frames them less as magical plot devices and more as a cognitive burden. They cost energy. They scramble memory. They leave Wednesday with images she cannot unsee at times when she most needs rest. Watching her learn to interpret and to ignore at the same time becomes a character arc by itself. The first 4 episodes work because they marry mood to motion. Production design leans into candlelight, wet stone, and ink black woods without losing clarity. The camera reads the geometry of Nevermore's halls like a map, so when Wednesday sneaks from wing to wing, the audience always knows where she is and why it matters. Sound design makes the bells, locks, and footsteps part of the storytelling language, so a single chime can move the plot. Performance choices keep the story human. Wednesday's deadpan remains a shield, but the show lets tiny micro-expressions slip through when she is frightened, proud, or unexpectedly grateful. Enid's optimism is not comic relief. It is a skill that buys time, diffuses conflict, and opens doors that sarcasm would slam shut. Bianca's poise is no longer just rivalry posture. It is responsibility under pressure. Xavier's steadiness complicates Wednesday's lone wolf reflex without turning him into a lecture machine. Writing choices emphasize investigation over spectacle. Set pieces land, but the show refuses to rely on noise. Puzzles are built from schedules, ledgers, runes, and human behavior, which makes the answers feel earned when they arrive later in the season. After 4 episodes, the board is set. Wednesday has identified a hidden corridor, traced a symbol through school and town records, and proven that the ward failures are being manipulated rather than failing on their own. She has cracked a door open with Enid, redefined terms with Bianca and Xavier, and made it plain to administrators that a calm press release will not solve a structural problem.